Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm out here getting sweaty and I'm out of breath because I've been working really hard getting the Phoenix boat ready for the trip to New York. So I'm in Tennessee, so the trip to New York, I don't know how many miles it is. I haven't put it in, but I know it's around 17 hours of driving to Lake Champlain. I've made that trip many times. I've made the trip cross country a bunch of times in a bass boat, and generally I think I'm putting over 20,000 miles a year on my boats. And that's a lot of time on the road. And over that time, I've really figured out that there is a lot of key components of your trailer and of your boat too that are super important to pay attention to before you even hit the road. And I'm convinced that 90% or more of the people that hook up their boat and are heading for a long trip don't even pay attention to these things. So I wanted to go through all of the things that I think people kind of overlook when it comes to their trailer and their boat, or even just a regular trailer on a long trip. So let's get started. All right, so the very first thing, and this may seem very obvious, but way too many people neglect this factor, and that is tire pressure. Always make sure that your tires are inflated to the correct tire pressure. And most of the time, the manufacturer of the trailer posts it, I think it's on this trailer right over here. Yep. So right under here, you can see my trailer is 50 PSI is what they recommend. It says it over here too. So I keep it at 50 PSI. A lot of people will definitely pay attention to tire pressure. That's one of the things that in this video I think isn't as neglected as the other things that I'm going to talk about. But one thing when it comes to tire pressure that definitely gets neglected is your spare. Make sure your spare is set to the correct tire pressure when you hit the road. Now, I carry a battery-powered tire inflator compressor. Let me show you the exact one. Man, been working hard. I'm out of breath. I carry this Ryobi tire compressor. It works really good, and I just set it to the exact tire pressure I'm trying to achieve, and it fills it up. And usually I can get through two pretty low tires before I have to charge it. So you definitely want to carry a spare battery with you if you do need to fill up all four, which you should probably do that at home. I've also got a traditional like pancake style compressor here at home, so I can fill it up without using the battery powered one. But filling up your spare tire is super important, because when you get a flat, inevitably it's going to happen. Not something that is it's when, if you travel enough. And when you get a flat tire, you want to make sure that your spare is ready to go. So keep your spare tire inflated. And I think that is one thing that is definitely overlooked. All right, so the very next thing, again, kind of focusing on the moving parts area of your trailer here, is to look for grease. Okay, look for grease around your hub assembly here. Okay, you can see on my Phoenix here, this Phoenix trailer with these Dexter Volt hub systems, I could see if there's any grease coming out of the sides here, and the same thing on the back too. You want to check the back. Usually you'll be able to see the grease splatter on the inside of the wheel. That's what you look for. And on the front, you would see it emanating from the center outwards. And essentially why you want to look for grease is if you can see grease coming out of your hub, water can get into your hub. If you can see grease coming out, it's definitely water's definitely able to get in, and that is really bad for your hubs altogether. I can't tell you how many hub systems, and also axles too, because once you burn out your hub, if you don't find it fast enough, you could weld your spindle and have to replace your entire axle. So every time I stop at a gas station, en route, I check the temperature of my hubs, make sure they're not too hot, but I also just do a visual check real quick on all 4 tires or all 4 wheels and make sure that there's no grease coming out. And if there is, you've got a bad seal problem. Now, a lot of, older grease and hub systems are a little bit messier, so you may not necessarily have a major issue if you have an older, a system that has maybe a bearing buddy or something that it's just a little bit messier. But for these newer systems like the Dexter Volt hubs that we have on my Phoenix trailer, you shouldn't be seeing any oil or grease emanating from that hub, okay? And speaking of the hubs and grease, you want to make sure that you keep your hubs greased up. Just make sure that you are greasing your hubs at the proper intervals that the manufacturer says. These hubs, I don't have to grease probably for the life of this trailer that I own it for, because I only keep these boats for a year before I sell them. And so they are perfectly good, but I definitely always keep an eye on, number 1, temperature, and also the grease, if there's any grease coming out. These are all good. It's bone dry on the outside of my wheels here because, there's nothing wrong with them. But definitely one thing, I see a lot of people at gas stations, and I just notice, because I'm a little OCD about it, I notice that they've got grease coming out of their hubs. And it may not be a problem, that day, that week, or even that month, but eventually they're going to have bearing issues and hub issues, and hopefully not, but possibly ruin an entire axle. I've done that before. While we're still on the tires, again, tire pressure is a big deal. We already talked about that. One little tip that I want to give you guys is carry a spray bottle with you. Most of the time I carry my spray bottle with a white vinegar and water mixture to clean the boat. But spray bottle is also really good to carry, a soapy water mixture. If you're losing some tire pressure, you notice you're losing some tire pressure, take that soapy water spray bottle and spray around the whole tire and see if you can't find where that hole is. A lot of times the trouble locations, maybe around the rim, around the stem. The stem is one thing that tends to leak over time. And then also, look for any nails or anything that might be in the tire. So, all right. So we've talked about that. The next thing, again, has to do with the wheels. I mean, most of what we're going to be dealing with that could go wrong is associated with the axle, the hub system, the bearing system, and the tires. And so the next thing is, of course, to tighten your lugs here. Tighten those up. I keep a four-way lug wrench with me to keep those all tightened up. Of course, make sure you tighten from opposite sides. So you start on this one and then go to this one and then that one, this one, and then this one. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do it in that exact way, but you want to go opposites. So keep those tightened down to spec. The manufacturer always tells you a specific torque that they want those at. I would definitely know what that is. I just tighten them down pretty tight. Just for the sake of keeping things the way that the manufacturers want, make sure you tighten it to those specs. All right, and also on the note of your hub system and the bearings and all that, make sure that you carry at least one set of extra bearings or even a hub kit. You can get an entire new hub, so you don't even have to worry about packing new bearings and doing all that on the road. You can just replace the hub as long as you catch things fast enough. I highly suggest you investing in one of those hub kits. I mean, having a bearing kit is great, but again, you have to know what you're doing, and it takes time to be able to replace bearings and seals, which I've had to do many times on the road. And I always carry several sets of bearings, and I've got a hub kit as well. So those are all really important spare parts that you're going to carry with you. The next thing that I want to talk about is your tire tread. You definitely want to always keep an eye on your tire tread before you go on a long trip, because you really want to monitor, especially from the inside to the outside, how the tread looks from inside to outside. You know, is it wearing more on the inside on one tire, or is it wearing outside or right in the middle more? Those are all really important things to kind of note. And if you have excessive wear, you need to get that fixed pretty quick. So have somebody, a professional look at it and see what needs to be done to if you need to replace a tire, that's fine. Replace the tire. But if you don't, get what was wrong fixed, you're just going to end up going through tires. So make sure that you check your thread. I think that is super important, and it really is a window into what may be going on with your trailer if something's out of whack. All right, so the final tip or thing to really pay attention to, I think everybody that is handy thinks about the things I just mentioned, tire wear, tire pressure, making sure that the hubs aren't leaking grease or oil and getting water in there. I think a lot of people do that, the guys that are handy out there. However, back here, the back of the boat where the engine is hung, that is where I think most people just do not pay attention, because really they're not using it. They're just assuming that the engine is not a part of the equation. The transom is not a part of the trailering equation, which is very far from the truth. So, it's really important to make sure that everything back here is dialed in, because you can cause a lot of damage to your transom, to your engine, to all the mounting components, if you don't pay attention to it. Because when you're traveling 1,000 miles or whatever it may be to your location, especially through some of the cities around the country, there's not really great roads. You're dealing with a lot of vibration, a lot of impact, and you want to make sure that your engine isn't feeling that. That the mounting components are not being compromised because of all that vibration that we get on the road. So it's super important to make sure that you tighten all of these bolts in the back of the engine, from the transom to the jack plate, from the jack plate to the engine, the power pole bolts on the brackets. All these things are super important, because the more vibration you're going to get on the road, which you are going to experience, the more some of these components can fail on you either on the road or on the water. It's really important to pay attention to that. And another thing that it's kind of a pet peeve of mine is the old style of transom saver that went from that roller right there on the trailer to your lower unit here. That style of transom saver was really, really bad for your engine, okay? Because it puts a lot of pressure from your trailer to your lower unit. And I don't think that connection is very good for either the trailer or the lower unit. Nowadays, we've got this right here. This one is the DD26 mean mount. This is the one I've been using for like 3 or 4 seasons now. And this one right here works really good. It essentially goes right here, okay? Connects right kind of like this. And so you don't have that connection between your lower unit and the trailer, which can cause that damage. Now you've just got everything contained on the engine and the engine mounting system. So I think that is really important. But again, I think the back of the boats are so neglected. A lot of people, if they do pay attention to all these components, they do it when they get to their next location, not before they hit the road. And I think that a lot of the damage that you're going to see to all your fasteners and to see to your engine and your transom is done on the road through all the crazy vibration you're going to experience. Anyways, that is pretty much it. Again, taking care of your trailer, man, some of the worst breakdowns I've ever had was with the trailers. and just being stranded on the side of the road. I'd almost take being stranded out on the water in many cases over being stranded out in the middle of nowhere on the road, and not knowing, you know, when you're going to be able to get your trailer fixed, or even if you can find a place to fix it. So hopefully all these tips help. Pay attention to them, you know, just really be hands-on with your trailer, and you're going to be able to tow with confidence all around the country. And man, it's just a lot of fun taking care of your stuff. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, share your comments and your own little tips for taking care of your trailer and your boat on the road in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you out on the water.